Okay, we are live. Good morning, good evening, whatever it is. As usual, if you're hearing some strange sounds, that's just the dog, one of the dogs right over here. Um, and this is, I'm getting back to the Heathen Hangouts, which is basically, just a place where we can hang out, as the kids say, um, and talk about issues concerning us horrible heathens. Uh, but everyone's welcome if you're a Christian or Jew, Hindu, Muslim, whatever. You are welcome here. What we do not tolerate here, well, I do not tolerate, and the moderators will not tolerate, is when we get people stinking up the chat with Bible quotes and what have you. So we're going to just talk about what it would look like if we had a Christian conservative state. Now, the same sort of applies to any religion, but what I have seen lately is a surge or I don't have numbers on this, but I do have a feeling that the Christian conservatives are gaining ground and they are getting more and more followers and supporters. Before I continue, and this is important, this is not me having a go at Christians. I mean, if you're a Christian, that's wonderful. I respect that. It's your faith, and it's that I have no problems with that. But it needs to be a personal thing. Um, what I'm talking about here is when it's being forced upon other people, or when everything in society is governed by religious dogma. Okay, we have had that in Europe. We have had that we have that now in the Middle East, the Muslim states, and so on. Um, and it always boils down to a separation between people. Um, it boils down to taking away people's freedom. And yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. I'm just going to say hello to the good people here in the chat. Um, and let's see here. I'll just scroll up. Sutanar, yes, your comments are showing up. Um, I'm sorry to hear that, David. I'm sorry to hear that. Just scrolling down a little bit. And Kathleen says, I saw the title and couldn't agree more. Okay. And Andrew says, at least for me, it's more about the dogma, not the religion itself. Yeah, you could say that. And so I am seeing the following happening. And I'm asking if you're seeing the same. Those of us who are calling out the craziness, the insanity in the woke thing, in the the current new thing, the liberals, they call themselves liberals, but they're really not. But that whole thing there, those of us who are calling those people out seem to very often end up with a Christian faith. And then they go, not me, but then they go public with it. Oh, I'm a Christian now. Oh, I found God and Jesus this and Jesus that. That's what they're saying. What's his name? Jordan Peterson is one of those, and some other YouTube influencers also. It's so predictable. It's so predictable. And I think it's because I don't think it's because they found God, because I do not believe in the Christian perception of God. And I don't think it's even a personal thing for them. I just think that what happens there is that they get caught up in this group dynamic and they get trapped in that echo chamber, and where most people are Christians and then they become Christians as well, which is sad because we who are calling out the insanity and all that, we need to be thinking clearly. We need to be critical, first of all, to ourselves. That's the most important thing. Um, and and then they go on and on about, from there it's just downhill. The way I see it, they lose all sorts of critical thinking, and it's Jesus that and Jesus this and Jesus that. And again, you can be a Christian. No problem with that. I have no problem with that. You can be, it shouldn't be. This is not about that. I think I've made that very clear now. So, so it's a sad thing to see. Uh, but let's talk about what it would look like if we had, let's say, people voted in office a conservative Christian party, political party, and they took power. In majority, they had the majority vote, and so on. And they started changing your country in accordance with their religious dogma. And there will be people. Hi there, Jen. As always, very good to see you. And what? Let's see here. Yes. So, what would it look like if that happened for those who are not on board with the whole conservative Christian thing? It would not be nice. So let me just give you a list just off the top of my head of people who would be in trouble. Artists. Well, art needs freedom of expression. If you have censorship, art will suffer, and they would likely censor a lot of art. Any art that goes against their beliefs, any nudity, any if there is any, like description of sex or something like that, it would be censored. So art would suffer. Any art criticizing the religious dogma would be censored. So art in general would suffer. And I mean, it's obvious, right? So any reference? Let's see here. Do we have? Hold on. Let's see if we have some moderators here. Jen and okay, I'll just scroll down. I can't keep an eye on the chat while I'm talking. So Pagans would suffer. Pagan is what you call those who believe in, most often the older belief systems, the older gods and deities. I use the term, Bobby, just a cross doesn't mean anything. It's an instrument of torture. Well, it was, that's all. So don't do that. I see where this is going. It is very much as expected. So, I call myself a heathen. I'm referring to the connection to the land, to nature. Um, and we would suffer because our belief system would be illegal. Historically speaking, I'll talk a little bit about what happened when Christianity came to my part of the world. Because there's this myth about the peaceful conversion to Christianity. Using the word myth here because that's a myth. It was about centralization of power under one king. And if you did not, well, if you practiced the old customs, like the offerings of mead and so on, and to the old gods, and the king's men discovered that, you would be punished. It was torture, right? They used torture to punish people. They would chop people's hands off, for instance, all in the name of Jesus Christ. Isn't that nice? So you can't really deny that. You really can't. So we would suffer. Oh, that's a strong coffee. Oh. um, Gay people would suffer. Um, and I don't know how many um, would be. Let's see. Well, it doesn't matter how many, how big a portion of the population is in a same-sex relationship, because it doesn't matter, because anyone who is would suffer under such a rule, because that is clearly against Christianity. Um, I mean, it's it's against Christianity in the sense that if you use Bible as a reference, you really can't deny that the Bible says that it is not okay. Okay, so and I am aware, of course, that Christians today, very often, or most often, hopefully, they don't have a problem with that. But it does go against the Bible, so it's a little bit of pick and choose there, which is good, because if we follow the Bible literally, it would be very horrible, very, very horrible. So let's see. So anyone any gay person would suffer, um, and you can pretty much see where this is going. You would have an illiberal, horrible kind of society. So that is why I am a little bit worried about the trend where is this like an American thing? But everything American seems to come over to, and establish itself here in Europe after a while. Um, and, you know, conservative Christians, I think I have a problem with that whole thing. They have a problem with me. First of all, they will say that I am going to hell, which is not a nice thing to say. And if they truly believe that, well, I'm sorry about your delusion there, but you might consider applying some decency. If that is what you believe, well, keep it to yourself, you know? It's not a nice thing to say. So maybe you should not. Okay. I could, if I had no self control, say a lot of things about these people as well. I have my perception of what happens after we die, and you would not really, it things would not turn out so well for you. Okay. And we could talk about that, but it would leave you crying. So, okay, let's tidy up the chat a little bit. Um, so, yeah, well, good point there, DT. The attractive parts of Christianity stem from a European culture being mixed in. Pure Middle Eastern Christianity looks very different. That is very true. It Christianity was adapted because of all the resistance. It was adapted to the religious calendar, the mentality and the customs in the northern countries, and not only northern countries, but in as it spread. Um, Again, it can't be denied. Uh, uh, yeah, Jason says I don't go into Christian chats and troll. Why they do that to others is ridiculous. Yeah, it is. um, Well, Weasel 3001 is asking about difference in moral self-discipline between strictly religious and atheist individuals. What moral compass is calibrated more between these two? That's an interesting question. I don't think that, well, I think that if you need a religion to behave in a moral and ethical way, you're not a good person. You're just a criminal and a bastard being held in check by some rules. Um, so let's see here. Uh, okay. Yeah, 13 months, 13 moons, full moons. Yeah. So, okay, not trolling dude. I don't like the word dude. It's a stupid word. So don't call me that. And if you do, I will kick you out now. So if you want, you know how it goes. Um, I think you keep meeting bad Christians and zealots, says Hardy Dave. Well, it is funny because I have met bad Christians all my life, ever since I was in school as a little kid. But I'm constantly telling you guys that most Christians, and I have several Christian friends, are wonderful people. I have nothing against that. I'm just saying it needs to be a personal thing, you know? Because we could turn this around. Let's do that. Let's turn it around. Are there any Christians here in the chat? You are very welcome. You know that. Um, so, are there any Christians here? Yeah, I think there is. Let's do it this way. We will now go back to the faith and the customs of my ancestors. And if you don't follow those rules and the religious calendar, there will be consequences. If I see a cross, you will burn at the stake. If I see a church, we will torch it. If I see someone praying, we're going to strike down on that. If you don't offer meat, fish, meat, beer to the vanir and the eser, there will be consequences. How do you like that? You think we should go for that? No, not so nice, is it? I'm just turning things around here. I guess you get that. Worldview says I'm okay with those rules. uh, no, but seriously, we can't do that because it would not be okay. It's not. It's not. I mean, this is why we should not force our belief systems upon other people. You know, because it's wrong. And that's why I'm saying it needs to be a personal thing. That's why I'm saying I absolutely respect you for being a Christian or Muslim or Jew or whatever, as long as it's your personal thing. But it needs to go both ways, right? So, um, it is it should be easy to grasp this concept. It should be easy. Um, Now, yeah, well, Henry, sorry, I can't pronounce your name, but saying that we're not in medieval times, so this is all hypothetical. None of this would happen except with Islam. Good point, but let's say a conservative Christian political party and movement could make a lot of changes. It's absolutely realistic that they could do that. Um, some of the things that they would probably do is implement censorship. That would put me out of business as a novelist. Well, and it would apply to YouTube as well. Um, they would make it illegal to practice other belief systems, perhaps. We don't know. They would absolutely restrict women's, this is dangerous territory, women's the ability and legality of abortion. Now, I am not, I've said this before, I'm not a supporter of, the crazy rules that I'm hearing about in the USA and so on. But there are clearly cases where abortion is the kindest thing. And so having making abortion illegal in all cases, to me, is morally disgusting. It's immoral. But they would probably do that. And the list goes on and on. Kenneth, thank you for that question. I know I know where this is going, so I will thank you for the donation, but I will not answer. Robert, thank you again. Thank you for the donation there. Says religion poisons everything. We'd be better off without it. All should be free to form their own universal view and be spiritual, dogma free. Hello from Canada. Wise words there, and thank you for those. I will say that for me, my faith, and this I think goes for most Norse heathens and probably most other heathens and pagans as well. It's a it's a symbolism there for nature, life, and death, and that symbolism is very strong and important. And of course, it comes with, like in we Norse heathens, we are very lucky because we have all this written material written down by well, like Snorre, he was a Christian, but we can clearly see and analyze the texts and trace the what is take out the Christian parts that he put in there, and yeah, that's a different discussion, I guess. But it's a spiritual thing. I don't like to call it a religion because it's really not. I think I've used that word before, but okay, we're going to kick someone out. We're going to ridicule him first, or her. I think it's a him. But anyway, you just wait. Um, so it's symbols. It's about, well, it's spirit. It's not a religion, and it's spirituality. And I think that, well, I know that they didn't even have a word for religion. Um, the word used was said, which is um, could somewhat be translated to customs because it went into their daily life and it was part of their customs, daily customs, things they did. RSM Pride, you're among adults now and you need to behave, and you should take this as an advice to someone who is older than you. You're probably not very old. Um, but I think this channel is not for you. I am going to kick you out, but take this as good advice. Educate yourself, behave in a respectful manner, and good luck to you. He's gone. So, let's see. Michael, same to you. I don't need to repeat it. Yes, I will bash other people's religious beliefs now, and I'm sure you would have been okay with it if I put Muslim in the title. Again, go and educate yourself. You do not belong here on this channel. It's not for you. Okay. And this really is not about me kicking people out if they disagree. It is about disrespect, and it's about keeping this community nice. You know, um, it shouldn't be complicated, but it is to many people. Created by Nature Studio says, I relate heavily with the nature represented in Norse beliefs. However, in my experience, there are Christians that are following the esoteric teachings whom are tolerant. My old friend. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, and here comes Turkey. Twilight says, do you know the difference between Catholicism and first century Christianity? Robert says, well, thank you, Robert, for the super chat. Yeah, I'll just say the last part there. Religion is crowd control. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's used to keep people in check and to keep them subjugated. Wanderer says tolerance of free thought. I see. I'll keep you here. It's okay. You will learn. It's not a human right to be on any YouTube channel. In the chat, it really is not. And here, censorship. People will say, "Oh, you're against censorship, and now you're kicking people out." Listen, I'll explain this, and any idiot out there should be able to understand this. I can kick anyone out if I want to, and I will do that. That's not censorship. If I said, and here comes the important part, if I said, and you cannot start your own YouTube channel, that's censorship. Okay? If I went to your home, went into your living room, and stood there and said that you don't know anything, you're an idiot, would you be okay with that? No? Would you kick me out? Well, you would try. And then you would have to call that censorship. This is my house, okay? And if you can't tolerate that, and if you can't behave, I will kick you out. It's always been like that, and it will continue like that. Another Bjorn, Bjorn from Sweden. How are you doing? Well, thank you, Jen. Um, Thank you, Michelet B. Thank you. Jason says, always be polite to the host. Yes, absolutely. That's good advice. At least don't use a kind of language that's just stupid, you know. Now, Trond Arnfinn, hi there, good to see you. He says that God's symbol to him, God symbolized different elements in the nature. It is spiritual and comes natural to me. It is also about respecting each other, in my opinion. I totally agree. And Lars Sul says a Trump win will not lead to a conservative Christian state. Thankfully, though, we do need more conservatism. We will review how much, if necessary. Um, that's interesting. Trump, I will say this about Trump, okay? He's a businessman and he's a dirty old man. He is. He clearly is. Um, and I think it's hilarious that he's using the Christian thing to gain votes because that's what he's doing. And when you look at how he has lived his life, I mean, are we looking at a good Christian there? I think not. But anyway. um, Yeah, fire temper steel. Criticism should strengthen your faith or wake you up to truth. Yeah, well, we know quite a bit about criticism um, from psychology, and it's not actually like you say there. It would be nice because if that was true, we would all be very, very strong. In fact, criticism breaks people. Uh, in sports, and this comes from my education in sports. Um, if you are constantly being negative and giving negative criticism, like don't do like that, don't do like that, and you must need do better, and so on. You will that athlete will not improve. If you instead say what you did right there, that little part there was really good, do more of that, that athlete will grow. Um, we know we know how it works. Same with creativity, actually. Um, and it's very popular, very trendy to say that, well, I like criticism because it makes me better and stronger. Yeah, that's very nice. You're such a wonderful person. But the human mind does not work that way. We want to believe that, but it is not true. Okay. Okay, you forgot that US started off as a conservative Christian state. Why the hell is everything? Why does everything have to be about the US? Why? And it did not. There were people there before the Europeans got there, and I don't think they were Christians because they had never heard about such a thing. Okay. Yeah. Alfred says America being Christian is questionable. Check out all the symbolism on the money and such. Well, I'll tell you one thing. Okay, I love America. I really do. I'm fascinated and by American culture, not the pop culture, but the history, the native nations there. I have read quite a lot about that. It goes into my writing. Went into my writing also. Extremely fascinated by that, and also when the Europeans moved over there. It's yeah, it's I love Canada and the USA. It's just wonderful. It's just this fascinating thing to me. But I must say that you need to realize that from the outside, the USA doesn't really look that great. Okay, it doesn't really look that great, and what for me, what I think is, and this is just me looking at the USA from the outside, the main reason I would not move to the USA is the lack of freedom. I'll say it again, the lack of freedom. And we saw it clearly during COVID, where here in Norway we had a lot more freedom than in the majority of the American states. So, okay. Many of the laws were created based on Christian principles, were they? Wasn't that based on the French? What's the word? Not the French Revolution, but the French, the humanism. No, can't remember can't remember the word. And also the Second Amendment won't change anything. I'm getting sick and tired of it. Why didn't you apply that during COVID when you were locked down and when you had to bend your neck to these idiot politicians ruling your country? I didn't see anyone. Can't you see that? You can brag about the Second Amendment and live in this illusion that the USA is the superior nation because of all the guns, but it really makes you a laughing stock to the rest of the civilized world. It really does. You need to stop doing that. It is silly. Stop doing that. I can point here, probably a gun over there, probably several guns over there. They have guns, they have guns, they have guns. And there is probably some guys up in the woods right now with guns. I'm in Norway. You need to stop doing it. It's a fantasy. Get rid of your corrupt politicians. Get rid of your two-party system, because that's basically what you have. Do something with your educational system. Get back to being great. The USA has the potential to be the greatest nation this world has ever seen. get back to that, please. And you can sit there like fucking idiots talking about the Second Amendment, talking about the Bible, and all those things, but I've had it actually. I've had it. It's not going to change anything. Stop it. Stop it. Okay? And if you have a problem with that, go to some retarded Christian conservative channel where they talk about Jesus in every other sentence and where they talk about their fear of having the liberals taking their Bible and their guns away. Wake up, okay? I'm doing you a service here. I'm telling you, wake up. Wake up. Can you not see that the whole thing about the Second Amendment is to keep you in check, is to keep you in that fantasy where you think that you're the best nation on the planet because you have easy access to guns, while they strip you of every other freedom while you're clutching your guns. And in the end, that gun won't make a difference at all. It's a fantasy. It's something that belongs to Hollywood movies. By all means, do what is sensible concerning where you live and so on. Maybe you need a gun. I don't know. For some people, it is very sensible to own a gun for self-defense, home defense, and so on. But don't be like a little brat about it, okay? So, and also here's another thing. How many of the gun owners out there do go and train on a regular basis? I fear maybe not the majority. Okay. And here's the thing, and I will admit this. I was being very foolish at one point. I was at a party and there were guns there, and I shot 44 Magnum out in the darkness. And no, there were no other houses there, but that was a very foolish thing to do. But I did. And yeah, many years ago now. I was not drunk, but I was just being foolish. But it's like that person who owned those guns, they were legal, by the way, but I often wonder, well, when I think about that party, and him handing out a gun like that to people who had practically no or very little, like me, very little experience with handguns, and then, having them shoot out into the darkness. How often do things like that happen in a country like the USA, where there are many more guns than in Norway, even, you know? So, yeah. Yeah, it is scary to think about. So, okay, let's just settle down a little bit. And now it's not frustration. Well, actually, it is a bit of it is. I get frustrated when people use the same stupid talking points all the time, like the Second Amendment thing. I mean, yes, you have a lot of guns. You know why in the USA, and I'm saying you because it seems like there are lots of Americans there. Okay, why do you have a lot of guns in the USA? Is it because of the Second Amendment? No, it's not. There are many nations here on earth where they have even more liberal gun laws, or they have no gun laws at all. You can have all these guns there because you can afford it, right? That's the main reason. And in other countries where there are no gun laws, they will have some old guns left over from some war, uh, you know, guns left over from when your administration pulled the soldiers out, like your fine potato in the White Office, left billions of weapons worth billions in Afghanistan. Very wise, very wonderful. So, yeah. Yeah, both are interesting, GB. Both are interesting. In most stealth situation, they are superior, of course, to guns. We're talking about guns and weapons now, which is not what I plan to do, but you know, if I cared more about how many subscribers I have, then I would probably not say anything about this. But I don't care. I don't care anymore. So both are interesting because in Norway there are no you don't have to register a hunting bow, compound bow, which is ridiculous because they are as effective as a rifle, and they don't make a sound almost. Um, and yeah, I have one. I don't like it so much because it's so modern. I like my longbows. I make most of my longbows, and there's an English longbow actually. It's just a 50-pound bow, but it's a bigger stuff bow. I don't shoot it so much, but maybe I should get back to using that bow. Um, and yeah, crossbows as well. Those are, I think, not legal in Norway. Um, and well, Cherokee Twilights is not as effective as a rifle. Trust me. Yeah, okay. I have no experience with rifles, I must say, but I have experience with bows, and they use them for hunting all the time. I'm sure you know this. Um, yeah, yeah. I love archery. Mm. So yeah, Eurasian heathen. We got derailed from the main topic. Yeah, that is true. Let's get back to it. So I think that what we're talking about here is that if you're a heathen or a pagan, you need freedom to be a heathen or a pagan. And historically speaking, it is the Abrahamic religions that has, well, no, I should be more precise. It is Islam and Christianity that has been the biggest threats to the heathen or pagan belief systems. And I see that coming back. I see that there is a complete lack of tolerance within the conservative Christians. Well, I see it here, you know. Um, I see it here, and it's not only that, but also that they will not even recognize, for instance, also true as a religion. Now, I don't call it a religion, but that's what's the word? It's semantics, I guess, but it's so we should be a little bit worried when we see these conservative Christian groups gaining political influence. And I do see that. And I can tell you that I also see it in my statistics here on YouTube. I see them gaining ground. And some idiot out there is, or maybe several idiots are subscribing me to several Christian websites and shit like that. And it's if you're thinking the same, if you're thinking that you should do that, know the following: it will only harm those websites, because I do mark them as such that this is spam, this is it goes into the system. It's just a tiny drop, but it's not a good thing for that website if you do that. So yeah, where was I? So they subscribe me to these websites, and one is PragerU. Oh, you have to laugh. You really have to laugh. PragerU, it stands for Prager University. They know the truth. Yeah. And you shouldn't listen to all the other people. PragerU, that's where you will find all the answers. Yeah. It's not a university, by the way, but they use that name to give it some credibility. And because someone had subscribed me to PragerU, and they were sending out an email about PragerU coming to schools. So they have now, I don't know how they've done it. It's in the USA. They will be producing videos, I think, that they will show in class in some schools in some states. What a horrible thing. So that's not a good thing, yeah, they are awful. It is. I've seen it. I've seen that old fat man once. It's We don't need people like that in schools. We don't need their message being spread to kids. Um, it is quite scary. Well, PragerU is conservative Christian shitty thing, and they call themselves a university. So the students are going to get bored real fast. Concerning schools and how schools should be concerning heathenism, paganism, and schools. If you go to Norway, you will see that they have some in their, they in schools in Norway. Last time I checked, it was not secular. It should be secular, because if it's not secular, then which religion is going to be the dominating one? But last time I checked, it was dominated by Christianity. Not the schools per se, but that one. They call it, I think it's called religion or something like that. They have math, Norwegian, history, geography, religion, and the religion part is dominated by learning about Christianity. It is being presented as fact. The same goes for Islam. It's being presented as fact. And then they have a very, very tiny part, just a couple of hours or something like that, about the old Norse gods. And that's being presented as myth. And I don't know about you, but in my mind, any story involving someone walking on water is a myth because that never happened. Okay. And I do not believe that Odin has an eye lying in a well and it magically gives him insight and vision. I do not believe that. I don't think that ever happened. Well, there might have been some crazy person tearing his eye out and throwing throwing it in a well. But you know, so you know what I'm saying? Yeah, the Norse Åsatrue is recognized in Norway as well, but not in the schools. There it's presented as myth in the schools, while Islam and Christianity is not presented as myth, which is ridiculous. Um, now, Wanderer, how is Norse gods not myth? Well, you could call them that. It's okay, but then you have to call everything about Jesus a myth as well. Okay. Now, if you compare the Bible to the Old Norse, the Edda and so on, it's quite this. You could say about both that you have some um, things there that line is lining up with historical evidence. It's not that goes for the Bible, goes for the Edda as well. Probably, well, probably goes for. Well, I was going to say the Quran, but I don't know for sure. We'll see. Okay. So you call your own beliefs a myth too, Wanderer. You're dangerously close to being a little bit of a troll here. Did I say that? No, I did not say that. I did not say that. I'm saying that there's a symbolism there that is valuable. Okay. Okay. Wanderer, you have a warning now. Okay. Please try to behave yourself. Okay. Um, yeah. Well, Pathfinder. I've seen that movie actually. Um, yeah. Can I not ask questions? You can. You know what a leading question is? It's what you should not do. Don't ask leading questions, okay? Well, thank you, Michael. Um, so, yeah, who knows where the myths come from? And who knows which of the events taking place now will be myths in the future? Isn't that an interesting question? Now, we have so much um, being recorded now through text, through video. So, but imagine that there's this kind of a disaster. Civilization is completely destroyed, and people have to start all over again. Do you think they would forget? Do you think they would remember some things, and it would then, as it's being told many, many times, the story changes and it becomes myth? Um, Giga Chad, are you a Giga Chad? How is that working out for you? That must be nice. 500 witnesses. Yeah, I know what you're referring to. That's a bit. We don't go there. It's a little bit silly. Try again. um, let's see here. Now, I want to ask you a question. It's a bit funny. How many, and you can write if you like, your guess, how many people will unsubscribe because of this live stream to this channel? How many you think? Well, thank you, Robert and Wanderer. None. 130, 12. Well, thank you, Robert. You will get at least 200 more. No, GB, no. 26. 100,000? Well, I hope not. 663. All the be hurt once. 666. Okay. Us Christians forgive you, Bjorn. Thank you for that. I never asked for it, but it is nice, 10 million. Okay. Yeah. So 665, the neighbor of the beast. Yeah, that's funny. Don't worry about unsubscribers. No, I don't really. It's I've been doing this for too long. I'm going to. We do not have accept anyone referring to narcotics here. I do not like it. I do not accept it. I have no tolerance for that, and it will also mess things up here. So, on the channel. So, behave yourself. Okay, that was just a timeout. Okay. So, Outdoor Watch Norway says, I think the Second Amendment is important for most Americans, like Grunnloven is for us Norwegians. Yeah, well, our constitution is, well, yeah, it's important. And, well, yes, I think the Second Amendment is important to Americans. Absolutely. They get all upset and, it's like seeing when you criticize Americans not for having the Second Amendment. I support the Second Amendment. I said it many times, but it's not going to save you. Okay, it's not going to save you. That alone is not enough. Okay, and I think it has this cult status. I think also it's being used by politicians to keep people in the USA in check, to control people. Look at all the freedom you have. You have the Second Amendment. While we do all these other things, taking away your freedom. Sorry. Yeah. Tron, very good point. Tron is saying that I have speculated if Snorri really was a Christian. Look at it. He spent a lot of time writing about the gods and lived in a time where it was dangerous to not be a Christian. Yeah, that's if you read the Edda, you will see that he does this thing where he as a writer myself, I'll tell you what he did there, okay? Because it's obvious. He needed to find some way to tell the story about the Old Norse gods without getting into trouble with the church. So he figured out a way to say that Odin and the the, the gods and their the bloodlines of the gods come from. Um, he puts them in there. In isn't that after the great flood that he says they sprung out of one of the bloodlines from there, and then he forgets about all the biblical stuff and the Christianity. So here's where it starts, and then he tells about the gods, so that he could then say, well, but I'm a good Christian, and so on. Well, if he had at that time on Iceland written a text about the Old Norse, um, Old Norse gods, he would certainly would have been killed a lot sooner than what he was. Um, yeah, I agree. um, here's one. Some Olsion something says Islam is the greatest religion out there. No, it's not. um, Philip says Bjorn super wrong about Christianity. About what exactly? Be more. Oh, okay. You're referring to someone else. I'll just scroll. Thank you for calling those people out, Philip. I'll just scroll down here. Ulsson, that's almost like Olsen. I'll call you Olsen. That's a Norwegian name. I am a Muslim. Yeah, I get that. So welcome, and welcome to the Heathen Hangout. Keep an open mind if you can. You will learn something if you do. And you probably will not be a Muslim after you have been here with us for some time. Okay. Olsenbanden in the house. Yeah. I'm sort of waiting for a gang of from a Muslim channel being, oh, look at this heathen guy, we're going to get him, and then they come over here. It hasn't happened yet. So yeah, well, Texas Mama Bear, I think you missed my comment. I probably did. I can scroll up. If you really, really want me to see your comment, super chat works best, because it pops up and I will see it. Oh, here's. Oh, did I miss one? No, I can't see it now. You'll have to write it again. Refugee heretic, please tell me your specific main complaints about Christians. I don't have any complaints. It's just wrong to impose your belief system upon other people, either doing that through the state or in your personal life. That goes for every belief system. Why Cougar is saying, why are we talking about this subject? Because I want to. That's the answer. Do you have any problems with Muslim immigrants? Yes, we do have problems with those people. Not so much in Norway because there are not that many of them here, as in, for instance, Sweden. um, yeah, Islam is quite similar to communism in many ways. It is. It is interesting. Um, yeah. So, okay, Outer Watch Norway is asking here about something much more interesting than this. What do you recommend I try to make a bow from? Tree type. You don't have you. You know when I say you, well, you I can say you, but it's very close to people of a certain Abrahamic faith. It's a tree, but no, we don't have a lot of EU here. We do where I live, but it's you can't cut it down. It's protected. So I always say don't cut trees down to make a bow because you can find branches, good straight branches, and I think it's a shame to cut down a light tree. Anyway, if you can avoid it, you should avoid it. So ash and maple, rowan, so ask, lønn, rogn. What else should be in your ear? Well, area. Yeah, well, those are all good. You know, there are other types as well. Now I really want to get back to making a bow. Looking out now, I wonder if there are any trees down there with any straight branches. Maybe one late night I'll be down there. I won't finish that sentence. Um, what's your religious beliefs? Well, I think I've said already, I'm a Norse heathen. Yeah, Jason Voorhees, sorry if I mispronounced your name there. How do you think Europe would look like if the Abrahamic religions never happened and people still worship the old gods? Um, that's a very interesting question. And by the way, have you seen Odin? He's up there. So none of what I say here should come as a surprise. He's been up there for a long time. Um, it is an interesting question. So we do know that in Northern Europe, for instance, let's talk about Northern Europe. We we had a very successful culture. It was productive. It was um, successful in the sense that it influenced other cultures around the North Sea and also down along the rivers in Europe to great extent. They were technologically advanced and they had a very rich culture when it comes to art and so on. And this is something that we know. We know quite a lot about the Norse, and I'll talk about the Norse because that's kind of where I belong. That's my field of expertise, so to speak. And then came Christianity, and we saw a lot of changes, not for the better here in Scandinavia. What if that never happened? That's an interesting question. I will assume that the technological advances had just kept going. Um, it would not have been held back um, by Christianity in the way that it was. I will say that Christian monks were contributing to scientific advances, especially in the medical field. but as a whole, it was a hindrance. One thing that most people don't realize is that the Black Plague, now we're talking about especially Norway, the Black Plague was spread by monks. Not only that, but they would go to one village, typically, one farm, homestead, the last, what do you call it, oil, something like that. This, when someone is dying, they have this ritual, and then they would move on, travel to the next farm, next village, and they would spread the Black Plague that way. The Black Plague ended the Nordic dominance in Northern Europe. So we could take probably that away to some extent. We would have been struck by the Black Plague anyway, but maybe not. It would maybe not have been so devastating. Norway became uh, like nothing after the Black Plague, and we were under the heel of Denmark and Sweden up until, Norway became its own country in 1905, so not very long ago, after hundreds of years as a colony. That's part of a history that most people don't, outside of Scandinavia, don't know about. Um, so I think that we would have had a very great society concerning people's rights, people's uh, um, what's the word? You have to forgive me. I struggle with some of the words sometimes, and this tradition coming from the old Greeks. What do you call that? Humanism? Not humanism. Sorry. Yeah. Well, not democracy, but well, we did have that as well before Christianity. But yeah, I'm sorry, I'm stumbling over my words here. You'll have to forgive me for that. If you're a Christian, that should come naturally to you. So I think we would have been not animism. No. Um, yeah, I'll leave that because I can't find. No, not liberal arts. It's their. Yeah, is it humanism in Norwegian? It's humanisme. Humanities? No, humanisme in Norwegian. Um, I don't know. I don't know what, not philosophy, humanism. I don't know what that's called in English actually. Okay, so yeah, organic meat bag. That's a very good comment. I will save that for another live stream because yes, that's a humanism. Is it okay? Okay, wonderful. Um, so um, I think that answered your question to some extent. Um, some people will say that, well, you were sacrificing human beings and you had slaves. Uh, um, well, Christianity didn't change anything concerning slaves. That's one thing. And concerning sacrificing humans, which is what Christians like to claim that, well, you pagans, you were sacrificing humans. Um, well, we can compete in numbers. How many were burnt at the stake because of Christianity? Quite a lot of people. And it certainly classifies as human sacrifice. You need to open your mind a little bit and keep an open mind. You know, you need to do that. And concerning women, I'm not going to say that we had feminism during the pre-Christian time here, but I mean, if you know the history, you will see that clearly rights were taken away from women with Christianity. So if that had not happened, I think women would have been much better off. Like, here's one thing, and I'm sure you didn't know this, but maybe some of you do. If a woman, and this came, as far as I know, with Christianity, if a woman was raped, there was a death sentence for that in pre-Christian times, meaning that the man who did that would become lawless. So what that meant was that he would be welcomed in no place, and the family of the woman would hunt him and kill him. With Christianity came a custom concerning evidence. Do any of you know how a woman had to prove that she had been raped? Christian rules, you know? You can guess. No, 3 witnesses? No, 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 no. They boiled up some water in a kettle, and they put something like a nail or something like that, dropped it in the boiling water. The woman had to pick it up with her hand from the boiling water. That would then be considered evidence that she really meant it, that she was not lying. So I think that's unfair. I think that's not right. But maybe that's just me. Yeah, well, of course, then your hand is all ruined, you know. So no, that really is the thing. That is actually, it's, you can't just give guesses concerning this. That's actually what it was like. So yeah. No, GB, no, no, not. I just told you, okay. So yeah, and Christianity was not it with it came this hunt for especially women, you know, the witch thing. So again, you know, it was not like men and women were equal before Christianity, but certainly after Christianity, a lot of the rights that a woman would have, they were taken away. People couldn't read back then, says Gigacha. That's a funny thing you're saying there, because did you know what? It was quite common to have some knowledge of the written language before Christianity. We know this because sending messages using runes was quite common. And I've made a few videos about that on my main channel. It was not like only, you know, only the priests and so on who knew how to write. It was quite common to have some knowledge of writing and reading in pre-Christian times. So we have ridiculous examples like people leaving rune staves with insults on them, and things like that, to to mock people. Uh, but with Christianity came, the rune language was kept alive for centuries after that, but and I actually don't know when it became more common not to have any knowledge of the written language. I don't know, but we need to also remember that Latin was the religious language, and the church resisted having the Bible translated. You know, so for most of Christian Christianity here in Europe, I think people didn't know anything about the Bible because it was in Latin. They didn't know. They had to trust what the priests told them to do and the king's men and so on. Let's see here. Mr. Sorpos, how are you doing? Yeah, Viking tour, rune stones, yes, but rune staves are much more common. Those are little pieces of wood or bone, um, and people would write some short messages, like the wife would write, "Get back from the tavern, you lazy bastard," and give it to the farmhand, who would then run off to the tavern and give it to the husband who was there drinking with his mates. Things like that, messages. um, yeah, well, let's see here. I would like to learn Latin, actually. Your country, Albania? Well, I've never been there. It looks beautiful, I must say. But I don't know much about Albania, but I would like to go and visit sometime. Okay. Yes, Andrew, exactly. Not making the Bible available in the native language is that's control. Um, it's like the Bible has some parts there that are beautiful. It's the literature is stunning, and then there are some parts that are just evil. It's a collection of texts. So reading the Bible, which I think people should do because it's an important book, is important. And I also can see why they would want people not to do that, because there are parts there, especially in the New Testament, that really are the messages are very intelligent and humane, you know. And then there are many parts I totally disagree with, but there are parts there that clearly the powers that be didn't want people to know about. The figure of Jesus, how he opposed the ruling class and all that. That was, and this is just a guess of mine, would probably not be a message that people in the medieval age and after that as well would want the common man to learn about, if you know what I'm saying here. So yeah. So you see, I'm not saying that Christianity is all bad, But now I've been talking for 1.5 hours, and I've probably provoked enough people to leave this channel and not listen, so they will never hear this. But that's okay. Um, and to those people who get all be hurt, I'm not your dad, so I mean, it's like, yeah, okay. Um, yes, good point from Mountains of Elysium says a Bible before the printing press would cost the equivalent of a house today. It would certainly be very expensive, and a full translated copy would have cost more. It may have been practical reasons, certainly practical reasons, and then that um, but also it was a means of control. Um, the printing press, the ability to make a multitude of copies without handwriting it, was so important for our civilization. If you think about it, it's maybe the most important, no, maybe not the most important, but extremely, extremely important, because you could then get information and messages and literature out to people. Um, and I have been in, where was this? In Poland, at the museum there. I was looking at how they were recreating writing books in the Viking Age, because they had books actually, um, and it was. Can you imagine the work that goes into it, and the craft? Um, so a book, having a book back then must have been, it would have been something you put on the table to show your friends when they came along. Look at this, I have a book. Thank you, Elia. I appreciate that. And thank you, Michael. Yes, Jen, you're all great. You are listening and chatting respectfully. Yes, thank you, Jen. If the Catholic churches in Norway still speak Latin, in I don't know. I've never been to one. The wooden figure behind me is a figure of Odin. um, let's see here. Um, so yeah, I saw a comment here. Jody. The library is one of the coolest ideas, so people could go and read all sorts of ideas and have discussions, music too, and art. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Anna. Thank you for that. You want to see my smartphone? Okay. Um, I'll show you my smartphone, because I do have a smartphone. I'll show you. Hello. You like it? I made it myself out of wood. And this was during the COVID thing, so it says clearly here it's a COVID pass. Bjorn can do what he wants. Look at this pretty face as well. Yeah. So yeah, that's my smartphone. It's a great phone. It never disturbs me, and no distractions. It's wonderful. And you can make it yourself. It's not so difficult. Okay. Yeah. I am going to end this live stream now. And thank you for listening and all that. So let's see how it goes. It will be interesting to see. Okay. Bye bye.